Hi there YouTube, Mark Verheer here, and I'm talking about the first memories or a good memory I have of Doctor Who. And this is actually a video I thought about making after watching Lombo's Post's 1975 video on some memories of him, Doctor Who, his brothers and his dad and a car. And I've got some similar memories actually. Back in the day when Doctor Who, and Blake 7 for that matter, when they were on television, they always were on television right around the time that we would have our meal. My mom would have been cooking in the kitchen and she would call us to the table to have dinner. And most of the time we would be having dinner and Blake 7 or Doctor Who would be on. So for quite a long time I was actually struggling with my mom, battling, trying to see if I could have my dinner in front of the television. Well, I mean, something like that, you know, eating your dinner in front of the television. I still don't do it, but back then I really wanted to. And there's generations in America that just consume large quantities of food seated in front of the television. But for some reason, my mom didn't let me do that. So for a long time, I only watched snippets, small snippets of all sorts of sci-fi shows, and I very vividly remember the first time that I actually watched a full episode of Doctor Who finally, and then a lot of stuff came together. You know, I mean, if you only see snippets, you don't get a grasp of what the TARDIS actually is, and what is that with the companion, and what's up with that. You know, with that dude with a long scarf and stuff. I think it was Baker back then that I saw snippets of, you know, only small glimpses of. And the later Doctor, the one that also played in James Herriot, I always forget his name. I think that he was the Doctor that I actually saw my first episode with, and I was over the moon because it reconfirmed my ideas that the sci-fi television shows were a lot better than the Hulk or the Man of Atlantis, or you know, my brother and I, we actually got to borrow all of my uncle's Marvel comics. And when I was very young, I think about 7 or 8 or 9 or so, my uncle actually trusted us with his stacks of comics, and I read them all. They were Dutch translations, and actually all of the comics were translated in Dutch, and they were pretty. He had heaps, and he also had Storm, Trigia. And I actually ended up buying those albums myself. And a lot of those, I mean, it really instilled my love for comics, and it really instilled my love for sci-fi. So Blake 7, Space, I mean, I remember, I think I must have been 9 or something. And I was put to bed, and or perhaps even a lot younger. Yeah, perhaps I was, I'm not sure. I was put to bed, it was late, and there was something wrong. I came back into the living room, and on the black and white large screen TV there was this surface of the moon, and it was Space 1999, and my mom was actually watching that, and it was the intro of it, and I was just flabbergasted. So that, combined with my uncle's Marvel comics, really made me long for the sci-fi genre. And Blake 7, Doctor Who, yeah, those were for a long time. I mean, we live in a slightly different time zone than the UK, so when it's right before meal or right after meal, they would have all these shows on. And I never got to watch. In the end, when we got a VCR, they got a Video 2000. I'm not sure whether or not any of you are familiar with that, but Video 2000 was a Dutch invention by Philips, and it had reversible two-sided tapes that actually looked a bit like super huge compact cassette tapes. When we got that video, I was able to record my shows, and I actually had my own tape, and I recorded everything. And I was able to see and watch all the shows I would program. And then we would have the issue of people wanted to program and record different shows at the same time, which now is actually very possible with these PVR machines. But so actually my dad actually ended up getting another cheap VCR, so we actually had two. But yeah, it wasn't a VHS, so we couldn't actually rent any decent video tapes from the video store. I'm just rambling on, because there were, in a town over, they had a grocery store that actually had a very small shelf, perhaps this wide, that actually had pre-recorded commercial Video 2000 videotapes. And they had a small section of horror and sci-fi, which when I got to pick, I would always pick a horror or sci-fi tape. So yeah, I felt quite liberated that I could actually watch all the episodes, and still to this day, I really haven't seen all the episodes that I wanted to see, especially from the older Doctors. Of course, with the new, with the new Doctor Who, Tennant and before. Yeah, I mean, I've watched all of those, and of course a lot of the older ones. But still, I have to. I think I saw more Red Dwarf than I saw episodes than I saw the Battle for Red Dwarf. I mean, that came on rather late, so those were the days. I mean, my memories of back then, gaining access to the TV, or actually being able to record your program, and actually making sure that your tape didn't remain in the VCR, because otherwise someone else would record over it. So those were the days. Yeah, and then there's this car story that Dave told us about his dad making sure that they weren't late for Doctor Who. Yeah, I remember helping out my dad in his allotment, and I had a volleyball match for the competition on a Saturday afternoon. And then I discovered I was actually running late for that match. And my dad said, "Oh no, you're not." And actually we arrived in time, because he drove so fast, the car almost flew. So yeah, and Dad's making sure that you don't miss anything good, that they make sure that you are arriving on time. That was a good memory. So yeah, I thought I'd share that as well. Well, perhaps not the most interesting video in the world, but yeah, just me rambling, and yeah, nothing else to do. So yeah, Mark signing out, and I'll be back with another video soon. Let's press that button.
Okay, Matt Howard recommends. Excellent. So let's go check it out. It's a great game by Hewson. Kempston. Start game. It's a tough game and it's one of the best looking games on the Spectrum. Whoops. And I got shot and I didn't even do anything. Let's get the bastard. Ah! Yep, you're right. This is, I mean, I'm not showing the whole game because it's just a small Facebook clip, but man, this is just a great looking game.